Alright, horror fans, you've scrolled through Amazon Prime for like 45 minutes, convinced there's nothing good to watch, right? Turns out Prime is hiding some straight-up nightmare horror films that deserves your attention. So grab your emotional support blanket, lock your doors twice, and let's dive into 6 horror gems hiding on Amazon Prime that'll have you sleeping with the lights on. Or not sleeping at all. Let's kick things off with The Taking of Deborah Logan, a found-footage horror movie that starts off looking like a documentary about Alzheimer's and ends with you asking, did I just witness something demonic, or should I go get my eyes checked? A student documentary crew starts filming an elderly woman suffering from memory loss. At first, it's clinical, medical, a little sad. Then things get weird. Like things disappearing, creepy muttering, late-night wandering weird. Deborah starts acting in ways that can't be explained by any textbook. Lights flicker, shadows move where they shouldn't, and her behavior becomes more unpredictable by the hour. As the film progresses, the crew begins to uncover disturbing details about Deborah's past. There are strange symbols, newspaper clippings, old footage that definitely wasn't supposed to be on file. And then there's the basement, because of course there's a creepy basement. The vibe slowly shifts from concerned caretaker to burn the whole house down levels of panic. The found footage style really helps sell the realism. It feels like you're watching something you're not supposed to be watching. Like you stumbled into a private horror show, and now you're cursed by association. What makes it so effective is how it builds tension. There are no cheap jump scares every 30 seconds. Instead, it plants seeds of dread that grow into full-on terror by the final act. The deeper the crew digs, the more you feel like they should have stopped 2 interviews ago. By the time you're halfway through, you're yelling at the screen like, "Stop filming and run." And by the end, yeah, that's me, turning on every light in my house and giving the old lady next door some serious side-eye. Next is The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and if you thought working the night shift at a morgue was boring, think again. A father and son coroner team get an unidentified body one night. No visible cause of death, just this pale, beautiful corpse with blank eyes and a creepy stillness that screams, plot twist incoming. As they start cutting her open, nothing adds up. Her lungs are burned, her tongue's missing, but her body is spotless. It's like her insides have a completely different backstory than her outsides. The more they examine her, the more sinister things get. Clocks stop working. The radio switches to static. Doors creak open on their own, textbook signs, you should call it a night and go home. But of course, they stay. Because science.
Yes, science!
What works so well is how the movie keeps tightening the screws. You think you're watching a straightforward autopsy, and then bam, weird occult stuff starts creeping in. There's this constant tug of war between medical logic and supernatural chaos, and it keeps you right on that unsettling edge. You're trying to solve the puzzle, but every answer just raises more questions. And all the while, Jane Doe just lies there. Watching, not watching. Both. It's one of those films where silence gets loud, and every creak or flicker feels like it's trying to say something. And that something is, you're not alone. Now this one's for the chaos lovers. In number 3 we got Mandy. Mandy is a psychedelic revenge horror trip starring Nicolas Cage at full emotional volume. And yes, it's as unhinged as that sounds.
Okay, let's run.
The movie throws you into this surreal forested nightmare where Cage plays a man named Red who basically loses everything and decides to take revenge on a hippie death cult. But this isn't your standard action horror. It's soaked in neon, drenched in synth music, and sprinkled with demonic bikers and chainsaws. The first half sets up this dreamlike atmosphere where everything feels kind of wrong. The colors are off, the dialogue is strange, and the tension is buzzing just under the surface. Then something horrible happens, and Red snaps. What follows is a gore-soaked fever dream where he crafts his own weapons and goes full berserker. It's brutal, it's bizarre, and it somehow makes grief look like a metal album cover. Imagine a heavy metal opera where everyone forgot to take their meds. If you're here for Cage swinging axes and screaming into the abyss, you're in for a good and very weird time. Next in number 4 we got The Vigil. This is what happens when your side hustle involves sitting alone in a creepy house with a corpse, and you just know it's not going to be chill. It follows a man who agrees to keep vigil over a recently deceased member of his community overnight, a religious tradition meant to protect the dead. But this isn't just any house, and this definitely isn't just any corpse. From the moment he steps inside, something feels wrong. The air is heavy, The shadows move a little too much, and then whispers. You don't see much at first, but your brain fills in the blanks, and those blanks are terrifying. What really hits is how personal the horror feels. It's not just spooky for fun. The main character is wrestling with grief, trauma, and a complicated past, and all that emotional weight just feeds the fear. There's a feeling of being watched the entire time, like the house itself is breathing. The scares don't always jump out, they linger. They stay with you, long after the movie's done. Alright, we're diving into The Witch, and listen, if you ever wanted to know what it's like to live in the 1600s, trying to survive in the middle of nowhere while possibly being haunted by a witch, here you go. So, this family is already having a rough go of it. They've been banished from their Puritan colony and are now stuck on the edge of some creepy woods in the middle of nowhere. And from the first moment, you're like, yeah, this doesn't end well. The vibe is off, like when you walk into a room and instantly know it's haunted, except it's the whole farm. Things go from bad to worse when the oldest daughter, Thomasin, starts to have some seriously weird stuff happen to her. Her little brother vanishes, and rumors about a witch in the woods start flying. But here's the kicker. Is it really a witch? Or is the family just so paranoid and isolated that they've completely lost it? Who knows, but things just keep getting darker. The atmosphere is what really gets to you. Every single moment feels loaded with dread. Every look, every sound, every time they glance at that mysterious black goat, yes, the goat is important, trust me. It's all so eerie. You'll find yourself clutching your popcorn like it's a life raft. The slow pace here builds and builds until you can literally feel the weight of the family's downfall. It's not just about a witch. It's about fear, isolation, and how it can turn even the strongest people into complete messes. Plus, Anya Taylor-Joy's performance as Thomasin is killer. By the end of it, you'll be second-guessing every word spoken by anyone in the film. Please excuse me, guys, and give me a second. I am Googling how to apologize to a goat, in case I ever meet one with a bad attitude. Alright, we're closing out with Where Evil Lurks, and let me tell you, if you've ever wondered what it's like to be the guy who makes all the bad decisions in a horror movie, this one's for you. So here's the deal. Two brothers are living their best lives when they discover that something really nasty is happening next door. Apparently, their neighbor has become the vessel for some dark, ancient evil that's basically playing hide and seek. Spoiler, it's really bad at hiding. Now, instead of doing the obvious thing, and I don't know, leaving town, they decide to stick around, investigate, and take it upon themselves to handle it. Classic move, right? Like, sure, let's poke the creepy thing with a stick and see what happens. What could possibly go wrong? As they start to uncover the mystery, things get progressively worse. It's one of those movies where every time you think it can't get more twisted, it does. Evil spreads, the atmosphere gets thicker, and you start to question if these guys even know what they're doing. Spoiler alert, they don't. They start noticing strange, unsettling things, like creepy whispers, doors that open by themselves, and a general feeling that they might have accidentally signed up for the worst Airbnb experience ever. Alright, that's the list. 6 creepy, under-the-radar horror gems on Prime that absolutely deserve more love, and maybe a therapy session after. If you like this roundup, hit that like button, subscribe for more horror deep dives, and comment which one you're watching tonight, or which one you noped out of in the first 5 minutes. I'll be over here, watching cartoons to recover. Peace.